Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Bulletproof of BJJ podcast. Why is BJJ obsessed with injury? Is this an unhealthy thing? Now, we dig into why the badge of honor may actually be undermining our whole BJJ approach. Also, is something that we consider to be a show of strength actually secretly a weakness? Also, we share camaraderie. We talk about injuries. It shows us that we're still warriors. But is this just a hangover of a bygone era that is no longer relevant? And could there be a brighter future where you no longer get caught up on injury and can enjoy something special, something else? What is it? We will reveal. Let's get into the episode. Now, you're loving the show, and we would love you to please like, subscribe, and follow on whatever platform you're enjoying this. Also, share it with a friend. We appreciate it. Why does BJJ glorify injuries? Why are we so obsessed? It's one of those things. I used to think it was a CrossFit thing. Before I did BJJ, CrossFit had just kind of come out, was quite popular. It's like 2006, 2007. But CrossFitters were always freaking injured. And before I met people who did CrossFit, it was triathletes. Triathletes were always like, my knee, my back. And it points, I feel, towards toughness. You know, you're indicating that I'm in pain, but I can keep going, soldier on. But I feel it's quite an unhealthy thing. It's a bit of a hangover. And I wanted to unpack this because I know a lot of injured BJJ folks. You know a few folks like this, Joe?
Yeah, a few.
Oh, just a couple. just everyone we know.
I mean, it's a...
but there's a couple
It's a badge of honor,
Yes.
and it represents the shared struggle.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, historically, that thing about some of the Nazi top brass used to do where they'd cut themselves.
Well, no, they
look like a fencing.
But the thing was, the elite actually
would have those.
They got them from like real saber.
Yeah.
And that's why they had these crazy facial scars. And then other dudes would try and mimic it.
That's right.
To look like that.
Yeah. And so, and obviously that's not that long ago, but I'm sure, it's there, right, in cultures, whenever you read about it, that scars and physical trauma that you can carry is something to be revered.
Yeah, you can respect it.
Yeah, and it's the marble statues of Greek wrestlers and stuff.
With the cauliflower ears,
and the big brow,
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that thing of my shoulder's too, bro, my knee's a wreck, is kind of just an extension of that.
It is, and there is a lot of toughness in folks that do BJJ. If you stay in it for a while, you got to put up with a lot of physical stress.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be a small niggle, which can turn into something bigger if you ignore it. But this idea of a badge of honor is kind of, I feel it's maybe we are misconstruing, we shouldn't be glorifying something which perhaps indicates something which is lack of self-care. You know what I mean? We don't, for example, if someone is missing all of their teeth, oh yeah, that was great. You go, no, you probably should have worn a mouth guard, bro. Oh, you smoke crack. Oh, my bad. All right, well, maybe give that up first. But, I can totally relate to demonstrations of toughness. They talk about rites of passage in other cultures. Some cultures, they will knock out a front tooth. There's nothing wrong with it. We're just getting a stick and we're knocking this out because you're showing you can demonstrate pain. Certain cultures having burns or scarage type scarification,
cool
tattoos.
Cool one I read about. Can't remember which North American tribe it was.
Right.
It's in the book Black Elk, I think.
Okay.
But they had a couple of things they would do for young males as a rite of passage.
Right.
But one of them was staring at the sun for as long as they could handle.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Staring at the sun, and they had this event, went for a few days. That was one of the things they would do. Just imagine trying to do that.
Well,
and
I actually knew a guy who blinded himself doing that.
Tough.
As a child.
don't want to get in a fight with that guy.
Yeah, well, he can stare anyone down. He's can't blink now.
But the other one was
God
they
damn.
would put, they would spear, they would peel, they would cut some strips, they would make some cuts down the back, and they'd pull off strips of skin, like open it, and they'd put a stick in there, and then they'd tie the stick to like a tree, and the young warriors would have to walk to tear the stick out.
Oh God.
And you could just visualize this group
Oh
of
my God.
men or young men all doing that together.
Dude.
So yeah, we've always done shit.
dying
haven't
of
we?
terrible infections. Like you were really tough and now you dared.
I mean, but that's the thing. Like even like the knocking a tooth out thing, you're like, a tooth is a valuable resource.
So valuable.
Especially when you don't have modern dentistry
Of course.
at your disposal. So you're like, to knock one out says so much.
It's sacrifice.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess I'm not trying to devalue how much people give to jiu-jitsu. That's not at all. And I'm because when people ask me about my cauliflower ears, they're like, "Well, tell us about that kind of thing." I'm like, it's kind of not everyone who does jiu-jitsu has cauliflowers. You know what I mean? Like this is stubbornness. This is me being dumb.
Yeah.
Like I got my cauliflowers not from
This is
the dumbest, my early stage in jiu-jitsu. This is me not being good at jiu-jitsu. This is me just ripping my head out of a triangle repeatedly, which means I got triangled a bunch. Like it doesn't show how smart I am. It just shows I'm a f***ing grinder. That's not great. Even though now, because like, oh, UFC, jiu-jitsu is a bit cool. It's like, oh, you're a fighter. Cool. It allows people a way to open up a conversation with you.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what I wanted to turn to is like shows of toughness is pride. It's ego. You know what I mean? Like being able to be proud about deformity or injury is like, it's kind of opposite to the ethos of jiu-jitsu. You know how we're all about, humildade, you know, like let's be humble. We're not, but I'm so proud that I'm fucked up. Like, how does this make any sense? This is one of those tough ironies for me in jiu-jitsu because like I love jiu-jitsu, but then I'm also like, this is a fucked up stupid thing that we do, isn't it? Like why are we doing this to ourselves? Because even when I go to the world of powerlifting and speak with people who do powerlifting, they will push themselves to pretty catastrophic level injury, like tearing their adductor or tearing their rotator cuff. But it doesn't mean they're going to stop doing it. They just got to take a bit of time off, like do the rehab, see the physio, and then they're straight back to doing it again because they love the game. But you can bet that they're posting about, here's a photo of all the bruising in my leg and can't bench because of my shoulder or whatever it might be, right? I guess we accept it's part of the process, but it's this idea of glorification.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a warrior. I'm a soldier. Look at what I had to go through. Look at what I subjected myself to. I don't know if this is something we should be promoting, because no one ever says, hey, shut up, stupid. You axed yourself. Don't do it again. Fix up. Like if you're a child, like your parents like, don't pick your scabs. Like, yeah, but I want a mad scar. No, you don't. You just don't know it's bad for you. But we're grown-ups, right? We know that we shouldn't keep running into the wall. We shouldn't keep banging our head against the wall. We know that's not good for us. But yet, in the name of fucking glory, strength and honor, my friends, I just feel like it's a real bad habit of jiu-jitsu.
I would agree. I think like many things, I see two dueling.
You see
ideas
two sides of the argument.
Yeah. 'Cause if you take the flip side of that, right? Take someone who doesn't engage in anything physically risky.
Yep.
Right? You probably have a friend like this or have had a friend like this somewhere along the way. Usually a bit boring.
Maybe.
Yeah. And I think of that Socrates quote.
Right.
That one of what a shame it is for a man to grow without knowing the...
being able to use the body.
And that speaks to like going through, like there's an element of that which is like going through physical challenge and
hardship,
difficulty and trauma in order to realize more of your humanity.
Develop character.
And like they say in like Kashi says with the Pahlavan is that, strength is the pursuit of strength is the pursuit of truth.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, and that speaks to Like you can't pursue strength, you can't pursue your physicality without taking damage,
without suffering.
But then the flip side is, well, if you just protect yourself, and I saw Derek More Plates More Dates did a thing with the Brian Johnson guy. Is he the live the don't die guy?
Yeah, don't die. Yeah.
And you're like, don't die. It's like, look at I don't know. I mean, full respect, people be into what we.
No, look, I'm going to say, look, Brian Johnson, he's doing his good work for himself, but it's also overrated.
Well, yeah, but it just like I look at those people and I'm like, fuck, what are you preserving? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so there's a price to be paid for this exploration, but it's often a very worthwhile price. Not always, and we do take it to silly extents.
We can go pretty far. And what I said before, let me put it in context. I respect what Brian Johnson's trying to do, right? Because he's trying to explore the outer measures.
You're just saying that because you don't want to die young now because you talk shit about the
No, I'll probably die young. Whatever. I'll probably have a heart attack having 15 fucking Diet Cokes and, my blood pressure goes to the roof. It's like,
you'll be like, Craig Jones,
avenge me, son. No, but I think it's one of those things that...
all along.
He was my hero. But I think the thing about it is that I'm not hating on what he's doing, but I don't wish to be him. No. I don't think he's the model.
No, he's a total...
But, but he's very influential, right? Because a lot of people going, oh, he knows. No, he doesn't know, but he has pretty much endless resources to be able to explore it. And if you're a rich fucking tech multi-millionaire, and you can around and take your son's blood and filter out your blood and you can find out what that is, and you can also have follistatin and do all these things, but that's not available necessarily to the everyday human. And so we know that one of the major contributors to limiting your focus in your jiu-jitsu is dehydration. And when you can't focus, you are more likely to get injured. And that's not what we want for you. We have a solution. Sodi. Sodi is the perfect mix of sodium, potassium, and magnesium. And it tastes great. Right now, my favorite flavor is salty pineapple. It's tropical, tastes good, and it's naturally flavored. Now, if you want to stay focused and improve your jiu-jitsu without the effects of dehydration, go to Sodi, SODII.com.au, and use the code Bulletproof15 to get 15% off. If you've ever copped an injury and found yourself off the mat, suffering from FOMO, struggling with not being at jiu-jitsu, there is absolutely a solution for you to keep your mind active and sharpen your skills. Submeter.io. It is the most comprehensive online learning platform for jiu-jitsu, specifically designed in a format so you will remember the lessons. It doesn't matter if you're just starting out or you've been in the game for a long time, there is something in there for you to get better at jiu-jitsu. When you go to submeter.io, use the code Bulletproof16 and you'll get $16 off. You start your learning journey today. Speaking to the point of like longevity, the thing is we all know that jiu-jitsu takes a long time to get good at, but we are willing to compromise ourselves in the name of the fight. But if we could take a different approach and go, right, I know I've got to be in this for a long time, therefore I'm going to do what I can to not put myself in as much jeopardy or tap a bit earlier or whatever it might be, then perhaps it's going to be a better journey.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily.
No,
right?
yeah.
And I'm not saying this because I think that injury is completely avoidable, but there is something about not looking after yourself. This is what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
This is my biggest problem, right? Because I wouldn't say I'm proud of this, but this is something that we all do these things where we identify as something. And I'm not getting into any kind of, how you identify. I'm saying, for example, I was someone who always had a shit car, right? I never really looked after my car, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just dumb at that. I don't know how to look after a car. I'm ignorant. Oh yeah, I had a flat tire, and I'm running around on my little wheelbarrow tire, and I ran out of petrol, so I had to push it over the Westgate Bridge, and just stupid shit. Willful ignorance, basically. People often conduct themselves like that with their bodies, right? And the thing is, information is actually pretty freely available. And I'll be very honest, I got a lot of my information from fucking my body up. Like, I learned from making a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
But you don't have to learn like that. You can f around for 20 years and find out. But let me save you some time, friends. If you identify as someone who's the injured guy or the injured girl, oh yeah, I always got that bad shoulder. And you got a friend who's got a bad shoulder. Or like you feel like it's part of your jiu-jitsu identity to always have a problem. I think this is a mistake. This is a hangover from the kind of glory of old samurais, which is like, I got my arm cut off, but I'll still fight on with my other arm. I have no arms. I've got the knife in my teeth and I'll slash someone's throat like that. It's like, no, like we're not samurais. You know, we don't have to maintain our honor. Like all this kind of behavior is actually very ego driven, but it actually, it kind of mutes and limits our ability to do the thing we love, which is jiu-jitsu. If you are someone who, you know, is getting injured and you're not sure why, I mean, you got to kind of, there's a few ways to unpack that because it's not always under your control. Maybe you got squashed by a bigger human, whatever it might be. But really, the systematic lack of self-care is, I believe, underpinning this. And a lot of coaches aren't saying, hey, man, you should probably see a physio. You should probably take some time off the mats, rehab your shoulder and come back. They're like, no, man, just keep showing up. And strap it. Let's go. Because for most people, they don't have toughness in their life. They don't have a way to express intensity or things like that. So it's difficult to admit, oh, I got hurt and now I can't be tough, or maybe I'm not a tough person. A lot of people don't necessarily identify as tough people, but will also, the tough thing, the harder thing is to admit that you are breakable, you are fallible, you're human, and you might have to go fix your shit. And I think that's where we don't like to admit that.
You know, I think another facet of that is it's a cop-out and it allows people to kind of, it gives them an excuse. Okay. So it's like how I used to like going to comps. I used to like jumping into comps without training for it.
Okay.
Because it meant that if I lost, I'm like, well, I didn't train anyway.
Who cares?
Yeah, and I often, as a result, which was kind of not great because it would do well, you know, because it would take the pressure off myself.
Sure.
You know, in my mind. But so with the injury thing, I think it's like, oh, well, I got a fucked knee, so can't expect me to be getting better kind of thing.
Right, okay.
You know, whereas when you're like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm doing the thing. I'm training. I'm, on point with that. When things don't go well, i.e. you're not doing well in training or someone keeps fucking you up or, you know, it's like all you've got to lean back on then is, well, I'm not very good at this or I'm not applying myself or whatever, right? There's going to be something.
Yeah.
But it's on you.
But that's a much better conversation to have. Like the conversation you have with your coach and your teammates, which is, why is my jiu-jitsu not getting better? It's not attributable to some excuse. It's attributable to your lack of technique or your lack of understanding, which is, and it can all be fixed, right? Like, I think the problem is for many people that have a limited view of their body, which is a very like old school mechanistic thing, which is, that is my bad knee. That's just not the case. I have actually found for most of my major joints that I've injured, it ends up being the stronger joint because I put so much time and energy into rehabbing it. It ends up being better than my other side.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to, I think the thing which is for most people is, yeah, definitely it gives you a bit of an out, but it's hard to also admit, I'm going to have to do some work now. You know, like I am going to have to fix this shit.
Yeah, that requires effort.
Yeah. And really, the reason why I wanted to get into this a little bit more is it is a much better life to lead when you are enjoying yourself by being pain-free. Like, I think that we do accept we're in pain a fair bit, or we get through it because we have lots of artificial ways to mask it. Anti-inflammatories, painkillers, creams, all this stuff. If you were to throw back to many years ago, they didn't have that. Or they had rum. Or they had fucking, grappa or whatever it was, homemade fucking moonshine. It's like, yeah, I've just become a functioning alcoholic, so I'm not in pain all the time. But I'm stupid. All right. So here's the thing, because we have lots of all these other things that help get us through, we kind of accept being in pain or being tired, and we just mask it, and it actually doesn't get us to address the root cause. I believe that you can have very good stretches of jiu-jitsu without injury, but we got to accept that being injured is not honorable. It's not better. It's not something you should. It's nothing to really brag about. Like, if you keep telling me,
it's not a thing to be proud of.
No, and I'm not saying this to shame folks, but I'm saying, like,
be proud of of the effort and what you do.
Of course.
Yeah, but don't be proud of this injury.
No, but don't keep telling me how your car breaks down. Fix your fucking car, or get someone who can. Like, I don't want to talk to you for the 10th time about how you relate to class because you don't look after your fucking car. Bro, look after your body. Why? I say this with empathy because I know the pain of all the injuries. And I don't want you to feel that way. But it's also like your lifetime in jiu-jitsu is shorter than you think. You know? I mean, it could be infinitely long, or it could just be fucking short because the pain and the fuckery is not worth it.
Yeah.
And that's because maybe no one told you, hey, you know what? You should do the stretch, which helps fix that thing. You're like, oh, what the fuck is that? You know, even I was chatting to a lady the other day, a really nice lady in the powerlifting gym. She had a really tight lower back. And I'm like, do you stretch your glutes? And she's like, what's that? I'm like, glutes, your ass. You stretch that? She's like, no, but I got a back thing. I'm like,
yeah, I stretched my ass.
Wow.
She's like, oh, shit.
Oh, no.
I wasn't ready for that.
Backpedaling. Let's put a plug in that one. No, But I just said, hey, have you ever tried like doing a glute stretch? And she was like, no, I have never done that. And I was like, yo, try this. She was like, wow, my back feels better. I'm like, yes, they are connected. Not always, but sometimes because it wasn't explored. So if you're someone who is just like a pure jiu-jitsu person, you're like, I just do jits. I don't do any of that other shit. I feel like by not having just one or two small things and investing your time and energy in being proud of proactively looking after yourself, you're shortening your jiu-jitsu journey. That's where it comes from.
Yeah, and then everything that you've built your identity on crumbles.
Yeah.
Like then you're like, fuck, now I got nothing.
I can talk shit with the fucking first year. Yeah, I used to do that grappling.
Yeah.
I never pulled guard. I also never tapped. Like, yeah, it's...
Hey, today's episode is brought to you by the Bulletproof of BJJ app. Now, this would be a cool idea, right? It's like the Christmas holidays and shit. You got some time with family. You're hanging out. You're not in your usual routine. You might be spending a few nights staying at, a cousin's house or at your parents' place, whatever. Imagine if you could just like tune in to some like short, sharp workouts. Maybe something that was like mobility focused for jiu-jitsu. You could spend like 12, 15, 16 minutes, knock out a little routine and then get back to the family breakfast. Or maybe it was like a 30 to 40 minute kettlebell workout, something that only needed like one single kettlebell that you had in the car, didn't require a full gym, but you could get a sick workout in and you could know that by the time you roll back to jiu-jitsu in the new year, your body's fit, strong, and you're feeling good. Well, I tell you what, this is exactly what you'll find on our app, and you can access it right now. You can take a 14-day free trial, and after that point, if you decide that you didn't like the subscription, we'll give you a full money-back guarantee. So jump in, go to the App Store, search Bulletproof for BJJ, jump into the app, start training today, and you'll see JT and us in the community group over the Christmas break, and we'll be helping you get the most out of the app. See you on the inside.
It's really tough because I think it's a general human behavior. We think everything lasts forever, and it just doesn't. And it's difficult because when you're new to something, like it's generally when you're younger that you're just like, oh man, I just live for now, like don't worry about the future, just everything for now. And I feel like people have a similar experience when they're new to jiu-jitsu. There's like a childlike joy in like, this is fun, like some fun in my life. Yes. And it just brings people out and it can get people more playful and many great things. But also, I think when you're in it, you don't realize that frothy honeymoon period is just that. And it does tend to go away. And it tends to go away when you cop your first really pretty bad injury.
Yeah.
And I don't say this to demonize jiu-jitsu other than to say that if you have things in place that allow you to deal with it, you'll be able to move on and keep enjoying jiu-jitsu. But the fact that we, maybe it's a byproduct of social media because people feel they need to talk about something or whatever, but it's the glorification of the injury. And actually, if we could be more open about injury and then go, well, what are you doing about it? Like, okay, you're a proud alcoholic. So when are you going to not be a proud alcoholic? Like, don't make that your identity. You don't have to be the injured person. You can just cop an injury, which we do, and then rehab it and then come back and bounce back stronger. I think this is the thing that we need to get more into the talk of, is like, oh, you got injured, that's terrible, but okay, what are you doing about it? And then what's next? And really try and get people in the idea of like, injuries are not something that happens and then that's it. It's a snag and you can get past it. And then if you address it in the correct way, then it doesn't have to be the end of your jiu-jitsu journey, or it doesn't have to shorten up your lifespan.
Yeah. Yeah, there's pretty much always a way through it. Yeah, where you come back stronger. Yeah, I mean, I don't, I think we've had that in our psyche long before social media, right? This injury piece. And I really do think like, it's like when we're talking to people about doing strength training and stuff, it's like the people that are into it, but the rest, people that aren't, are like, a large portion of them are probably just like, can't be fucked, man. I'm fucking, can't be, I'm too busy, and you're like, yeah, but like, I know you're busy, but like, it's really good for you. Like, no. And it's, it's that same kind of thing, right? Where it's like, I'll just carry the injury and stay at the same, like we'll keep status quo.
Yeah, but it's not, right? In this, it seems like that, which is like a bit of a false economy, but then you can't bend down to put your shoes on, or it's hard to walk upstairs now. Like the pain of changing, it might feel like a pain to have to, or it feels like an inconvenience to change. The not changing is also a decision.
Yeah.
And that turns into a more negative spiral. Like driving around with a flat tire does ultimately create other damage.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that also, by you having, say, a less stable ankle, that might cause you to like lose balance and fall and then break your wrist, or like...
Is that like Achilles Rocha after Eb says went to work?
On his Achilles.
Did you see that match?
Oh, bro, it was wild.
Eb says was on fire.
Bro.
Shout out to
Sebastian Attard, the man. Yeah.
What third?
No, second.
Second.
Second in weight and absolute.
In hell.
Yeah. Brown belt.
And Achilles won but couldn't stand up.
Yeah, he's like, I broke 2 of his limbs and he got 2 points.
Yeah.
So savage. It was nice. Shout out, Seb.
But not trying to hang shit on Achilles Rocha.
Well, I hang shit on Achilles Rocha.
No, I think he's great.
No, whatever. Yeah, he's good at jiu-jitsu, but Seb should have got the win. I am biased. I'm Seb's friend and I don't give a about Achilles, so whatever.
Yeah, fair. Don't feel the need to explain yourself, bro.
No, but...
These people know what you're like.
No, these people. They don't, actually. This might be I always do feel the need to explain myself because sometimes...
Don't, bro.
This could be the first video.
Not possible.
It's painful. It's too awkward.
I'd rather have another knee injury.
No. Injure my good leg. Stop this guy talking. Wrap it up. So, in summary, if you are somebody who finds they are getting injured, I guess you want to go back to what are your systems for recovery? Like what things do you have in place to help you bounce back? Because yes, injury is unavoidable, but if you've got a few more things going on to help you out, it's not as big a deal. So for me, for a long time having the car problems, I had changed things like instead of having the wheelbarrow wheel, I bought an actual tire. So when you get a flat tire, change the tire.
The cheese cutter.
It's a real tire, and that's so you don't have to worry about it so much, having a full size tire. I also paid for like premium car insurance, which included roadside assistance, and I pay the extra so I get the mad towing if I'm stuck in the middle of nowhere.
Falling out over here in the breakdown lane.
Still just sitting in the heat with the no aircon on, sure. But that's the thing, right? Because if you've been in a fucked situation, you say to yourself, how much of this is acceptable and how much can I change? And the experience can be so much less traumatic if you're prepared.
Yeah.
So if if you've, for example, even like my dad bought me self-charging like jumper leads, like little battery packs. So you don't even need another car to jump you. If your battery's flat, jump yourself. It's like, that's a level of preparedness I never think of, but the fact that I have it, that's a massive help. And actually the other day at the gym, I helped start another person's car.
Right on.
So, oh, you got jumper leads? I'm like, I'll do you one better.
This is the hero's journey playing out in full.
Yeah, I went from 0 to hero, and this is how.
Bringing back the boon.
Right.
I got the jump charger. Jump charger.
Right. It was amazing that I was like, wow, I'm the helpful person this time.
Yeah.
You know, and I think what's good about this is if you also have systems of negotiating injury, you can be the helpful person to someone else.
That's right.
As opposed to them being, as opposed to relating and them going, I got the bad shoulder. You're like, me too.
Yeah.
Mine's a bad shoulder club. You're like,
yeah.
Worst thing the surgeon ever seen. No. You could say, hey man, you know what? I've got this physio who's really good with shoulders, and just a couple of exercises and go check him out.
Yeah.
And then we are breaking the generational trauma.
Yeah, break the cycle.
Break the cycle, folks. You could be the change you want to see in the world, or not. It's up to you. So there it is, folks. I believe that we got to stop glorifying the injuries. And how can we do that? We can do that by being really good at bouncing back and helping others do the same. Now, if you want to help other people in jiu-jitsu, like, subscribe, and also share this podcast. Word of mouth is a great way to get this out. Share it with a friend. Also, give us a 5-star rating. We appreciate y'all.